Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back with another edition of Defense Capital Conversations. In fact, under Defense Capital Conversations, we deep dive into industry insights and also try to understand military technology developments that are taking place both at the military level and at the R&D centers and also in the industry space. Let me introduce myself. I am NC Bipindra. I'm the editor of Defense Capital. And in today's conversation, we have a very special guest, Mr. Anurag Lohia, who is the founder and chief executive officer of Lohia Aerospace Systems, which is a Kanpur-based Indian defense industry, aerospace and defense industry. It's my pleasure to have him. Welcome to the show, Mr. Anurag Lohia.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bipin.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. In fact, let me just introduce you a little more for our audience to know who you are actually. In fact, Mr. Lohia founded the Lohia Aerospace System with a commitment to precision and quality, and also technology development. And the company works in the most difficult domain of composites manufacturing. It has two facilities, one in India at Kanpur and one in Israel, based on an acquisition that he did. I will let Mr. Anurag Lohia talk more about it. In fact, he also has a great team of trained technologists who work along with him in Lohia Aerospace Systems. And before founding the Lohia Aerospace Systems, Mr. Anurag Lohia was the executive director and head of manufacturing at Lohia Corp, which is a company which essentially manufactures machinery for the textile industry. He has spent most of his career in manufacturing and loves to be spending time in the shop floor, as Lohia introduced himself many times. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Lohia. Let's deep dive into the subject that we are going to talk about. We have seen this Operation Sindoor that took place between May 7 and May 10. And there have been a lot of praise for the Indian industry for developing aerospace and defense systems that have effectively neutralized, say, around 9 terror camps within Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and also taken out some 11, air bases and also some military infrastructure of Pakistan during this 4-day operation. But the most critical element to this is the indigenous capability that we have. And still more precise capability that we require today is about raw materials and composites. Without these zero error products, it will be very difficult for the Indian industry to actually develop these kind of systems that we have that are quite accurate. They have been quite accurate in the operations during Sindoor. So, it will be a great pleasure for me to understand the raw material and the composite space, which is very critical for India to become a defense and aerospace manufacturing superpower in the world, which is what we aim. It is also that if we want to become a net exporter, ultimately, I think raw materials and composites are quite important. Mr. Anurag Lohia, let me ask you, according to a 2020 KPMG report on raw materials and composites, they say that India had been importing about $2 billion worth of raw materials and composites annually. And incidentally, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which is one of the top government-run industry, aerospace and defense industry today, it apparently was importing about $500 million worth of raw materials and composites annually at that point in time. And also there is a recent report of 2024 by Lucent, which claims that the composites and raw material, particularly in the aerospace and defense sector, is likely to grow by about 6% CAGR. Do you agree with this assessment, and what is your take on, say, this the need for raw materials and composites if India needs to grow as a big aerospace and defense industry?
Thank you, Mr. Bipin. Thank you for having me here. Yes, we are in the composites industry. And yes, our composite products, and I'm very, very proud to say that our products also played a very important role in the past few days. Our products go into manufacturing of loitering munitions, and loitering munitions were our first line of defense and our principal method for taking down Pakistani defenses. And the products that we manufactured went into the loitering munitions which India used. So I'm very, very happy and very, very proud. Um, what you say is absolutely correct. Your research is spot on. India imported a lot of composites over the past 15, 20 years. Just give me a minute and I'll give you the background of composites. Composites are lightweight structures. They are made out of carbon or glass or aramid as per the requirement, and they have replaced steel and titanium and aluminum as wings and aerostructures for airplanes, for fighter jets, and for attack and defense UAVs. They are 7 to 10 times lighter than steel. They are 2 to 3 times lighter than aluminum and titanium and far stronger. So they are now the materials of choice because of loitering munitions and UAVs being made of carbon and glass composites. We are able to make them far cheaper. We are able to use them across far longer distances than we could use ammunition made of conventional materials. And we did not have the technology for production of composites for a very, very long time. The government of India and some private players started this, and I realized the potential. And that's why I acquired the company in Israel to be able to get the technology for manufacturing them in India. We have been manufacturing them in India for some years. HAL continues to be the prime manufacturer for fighter jets and for UAVs in India, and also the principal consumer of composites. And today I'm very happy to say that now, for the past few years, we are net exporters of raw materials and composites from India instead of being importers. And our products and for similar industries in India, they are being used worldwide. The center for the defense industry worldwide is, of course, as you know, the US. In Europe, it is UK, France, to some extent, Germany, Israel, and Russia. And of course, China. China is very secretive, very secluded, but it is there. So, other than China and Russia, our products are used by all defense producing countries worldwide from India.
Okay, so if that is so, what are the difficulties that India faces, in fact, for sourcing of composites and raw materials, particularly? Do we have it in plenty, or are we reliant on some foreign source for say raw materials and composites at this point in time? Apart from you, are there any other players in this particular sector that who deal with raw materials and composites in India?
So all the big companies, like you said, HAL, then Tata's, L&T, Adani, all of them have gotten into this very lucrative field. There are also other players, but we proudly say that we are the largest among the independent composite aerostructures players in the country. The challenges, as you ask, are many. Number one is that there is not a very good supply chain for composite raw materials in India. So a lot has to be imported. We are working in our small way to help set up the infrastructure in India. But for now, a lot has to be imported. The other challenge that we face is government policies. Government policies do not allow easy export for defense equipment, even to friendly countries. We need to take approvals from the government of India, MOD, or the DGFT in cases for export. And those licenses can take a very long time. It might take us maybe 1 year, 2 year, 3 years of lobbying and intense negotiations to get a purchase order from a foreign OEM. And we need the export permission from the government, even to start importing material for manufacturing of those parts. So our wish list is not to give us any infrastructure. Our wish list is not to start buying from us. Our wish list is just to remove the hurdles along the way which have been created unknowingly. So that is one. The second big challenge that we face is that all the raw materials are used which have an 18% GST, and aerospace products have a 5% GST, which means that we lose a substantial part of money in inverted GST structures. That is a wish list for the entire industry, which I represent at this particular point of time, that the inverted GST structure has to be corrected, because by competition, we become much more expensive than similar players worldwide. And this is a level playing field. We are exporting our products. So is Malaysia, so is Vietnam, so is Indonesia, so is Israel. And we become more expensive by comparison. These are the challenges that we face. However, the opportunities are big. The whole world is looking at UAVs and loitering munitions as a big part of their defense arsenal. And we are very happy to say that India is among the now largest producers of such equipment in the world.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. So let's kind of get into what you have been doing. In the terms of how did you enter this sector? What kind of drove you to get into this sector while you were actually previously involved with Lohia Corp, which was doing manufacturing of machinery for the textile industry? Why did this pivot happen, in fact? So what sort of you thought was the opportunity to that you can cater to?
So, in Lohia Corp, we manufacture machinery and equipment for the woven sack industry, and we are the largest in the world in that industry. So, we were looking at other growth avenues. Defense, of course, is an industry which was growing, and for national pride, for national security, this was something that we did want to get into for a long time. We weren't able to identify any opportunities. Um, for technology, I turned to Israel. Israel has the world's best technology as far as defense is concerned. They make the best UAVs, they make the best submarines, they make the best equipment that you can see from what they have done in the last couple of years. So that when I selected Israeli technology, that's when I thought that either I could do a joint venture, either I could do an acquisition. An acquisition seemed more appropriate because there you own the technology. You are not dependent on a partner or a supplier for technology. So that is the reason that I acquired the technology. The reason that I went to composites is that the requirement of composites is growing by leaps and bounds. Um, the report that you said of Lucentel is correct as an overall composite requirement, but for aerospace, it is growing at a much faster rate because it allows um, the same motor and the same engine to drive the aircraft to a much longer distance. It can hover much longer, and it can stay lower below the radar, so it can also go undetected. You need much less stealth technology on a composite UAV than you would have needed on a conventional material made aircraft. We bring a natural advantage because we consider ourselves a manufacturing powerhouse, and this is a manufacturing requirement. So I considered this a natural fit for our company, and hence I chose composites.
Right. So you mentioned about the Israeli technology, and you acquired this Light and Strong Limited of Israel, right? So,
Yeah.
what is the the kind of strength that this company, Israeli company, brings to the table as far as your venture or pivot to this aerospace and defense sector is concerned?
Very interesting question, Mr. Pitin. This Light and Strong is the largest producer of composites in Israel, and it has all defense manufacturers in Israel as their customers. That was a very big advantage. Uh, A. B is that it had top-notch technology. It produced parts for civil, it produced parts for defense, it produced parts for fighter jets, it produced parts for UAVs. So I could get the full spectrum of technology on one single acquisition. Israel is a friendly country. I could send my people there. My first batch of people went to Israel and they were there for 6 months being trained for production. So once they got back, then they could train our the people we hired locally for the training. And I'm very happy to say that all the people that I sent in the first batch are still with us, being and still now they are not hands-on let's say workers. They are more trainers and they are more supervisors, but all of them are still there. The benefit of Light and Strong that I get was entry to the world's top companies because of my association and my ownership of that company.
Okay, great. So let me understand, who are the sort of customers that you have both in India and abroad at this point in time? So who are your customers currently, and what is the value that you're bringing them with your work?
So I would like to say that all the top OEMs and contractors in Israel are our customers. Number one. Number two is that we are also catering to customers outside of Israel in France, UK, and the US due to certain NDAs and disclosure restrictions. I'm not allowed to name names, but if you name a name, um, and if it's a big player in this industry, they are our customers.
Yeah, I mean that almost gives away all the names actually. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
yeah.
I can.
So is it the same with the Indian customers also? They're all big people because there are a lot of people who have entered into joint ventures in sort of manufacturing aerostructures and different components and parts for
So
global
in India,
manufacturers
the
at this point.
startups are not as a part of our customers yet.
I'm talking about the big ones. Yeah,
The big ones, yes, they are our customers.
yeah. Tata, you name them, all of them are there.
So
Adani,
exactly. So
Reliance, all of them are there.
exactly, they have their own composite manufacturing too. But today, with the requirement, all of them are requiring high quality, large, financially viable suppliers, which I bring to the table.
Right. So Midani is one of the state-run industries, which also, the mandate is for it to take care of raw materials and also the material requirements that they have, that Indian industry has, particularly the state-run industries. How big is their contribution, and how are you sort of adding value to what they have been doing for years now in this sector?
Very good question, sir. Midhani has been around for a long, long time, and it was a sign of the vision of the Indian government that they founded Midhani several years ago. Um, Now Midhani stands for Mishra Dhatu Nigam. So while they do composites, their focus and their DNA is in metal alloys. They have started touching on composites now, but they are more in the feedstock and raw materials than in producing finished, final, usable composites.
Okay, fine. I understood that. Okay. So also, if you could just tell me, I mean, is there a real gap in availability of raw materials and composites in India today? And if so, how are you sort of bridging that gap? If you could just give me an overview of that.
So there is a serious gap in requirement and availability, both in terms of availability of materials and availability of technology. We, in our small way, are trying to bridge the technology gap. For raw materials, we have our own specialized supply chain. Our supply chain is based in Israel, and we are able to overcome the current constraints in the aerospace supply chain because of our international presence and because of the technology. However, there is a long, long way to go. India has just upped its ante in the UAV business. There are many UAV producers. There is only one fighter jet producer, which is HAL. Um, but in the Indian government now allows foreign OEMs to come on with the 100% ownership route. So I'm quite confident that the really bigger contractors will also come to India on their own. It will take a while for the technology gap to be filled, but we are on our way.
Great, absolutely fantastic. So let me also understand what is your vision? What is the end state that Lohia aerospace system wants to achieve ultimately, as you go forward? Say, I mean, defense sector is a long game sector, obviously, and most of the companies exist for decades together. So what is the end game or end state that you would like to achieve as the CEO and founder of Lohia Aerospace Systems?
So, my wish list remains that India becomes completely self-reliant in technology for all its defense equipment. Geopolitical risks will always remain, and the only way to completely mitigate that risk is to be able to produce end-to-end in-house within the country. Uh, we started that, let's say, 8 to 10 years ago. We have achieved a little bit. There is, like I said earlier, there is still a long way to go. So my vision, my dream is to be able to fulfill at least part of that gap for aerostructures and for UAVs.
Right, I understood. Also, if you can just give me an idea of, this whether there are any government schemes that sort of help you to carry on with what you're doing at this point in time, the huge big aim that you have, particularly in this very niche area where it's quite difficult to achieve things. So is there any government support that comes your way? Are there any production link schemes, incentives that come your way? Do you avail them? Or are there any policy gaps that you think need to be plugged at this point in time?
So the Indian government had a PLI, the Production Incentive for drones, but they launched it in 2021 and it stopped in 2024. We are very eagerly waiting for a reintroduction of that scheme. And once it was started in the earlier days, there were too few companies in this sector. So only the biggies could take advantage, which really did not need the incentive. They took the advantage. Now there are many more startups. And a lot more technology is needed. So the government really needs to come out with version 2 of their PLI. That is one. The government had an offset policy earlier, which has since been discontinued. Offsets went a long way in getting foreign OEMs to buy from India. The Make in India scheme is coming in. It's coming in very slowly. A foreign OEM would typically not like to dilute its technological advantage by having partners in India. So it's coming in a long way. Hopefully, the foreign OEMs will set up shop on their own. So then the Make in India scheme will really come on its own. We are also a part of the defense corridor. I'm not sure if you are aware. There are two defense corridors in India, one in Tamil Nadu and one in UP. So we are a part of the UP defense corridor, and we are very happy to say that we were the first unit to actually start production within the UP defense corridor. And we are the only composites units even now active in the defense corridor, UP defense corridor. And to my knowledge, there is no composites unit even in the Tamil Nadu defense corridor. Being in the defense corridor gets you a little bit of priority on government purchases.
Okay, so yeah, being in the corridor, defense industrial corridor is a big advantage, and obviously you are the only one. So, do you get to supply to the Tamil Nadu industries also who are in aerospace and defense, since there is not much of a composites capability there?
There are no any decent size UAV manufacturers in the Tamil Nadu defense corridor,
Okay.
but we are talking to all of them. Most of our products today go to the large contractors, the large OEMs, and none of them are present in the defense corridors either in UP or in Chennai.
Okay. So yeah. So essentially, the big players are the ones who consume your supplies. That's what you're
Yes. Yes,
talking about.
because there are a lot of small time players, and unfortunately, because of cost pressures, a lot of startups are
Mhm.
unable to source parts from, let's say, established companies like myself. So they go
Mhm.
to smaller companies. Like I said, like people say that there are no free lunches, but people realize that in a slightly longer time frame.
Yeah. Right. So also, you were, what are your current manufacturing capabilities? So I think we had a discussion, but a written interview with you sometime in 2022 for Defense Capital when you had mentioned about your plans for ramping up your production at your present facility in both Israel and in Kanpur. And also, if you could just talk a little bit about your training center, what you do there, how does it help you to retain talent? If you could just touch upon these two aspects.
Yeah, a very relevant question, sir. So, as far as technology and ramp up is concerned, we have earlier we had our engineering and technology center in Israel. Now we have our engineering, prototyping, and technology center in India as well. And we have substantially ramped up our capability in India for production. We have almost tripled our capacity since the last time we spoke in 2022, and we would be looking at increasing our capacity again by the end of this year.
Okay, when you say that, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so by the end of this year, which means that adding equipment and adding space. As far as the training is concerned, Israel remains a training center for us, for our people. However, due to its becoming slightly a war zone, we are unable to send a lot of people there. So we have established our own training center in Kanpur, very close to our factory, where we train people specifically on composites and UAV assemblies. We are perhaps the only independent composites company in India to have our own internal training center.
Right. Okay. So what are your the immediate future plans, for Lohia Aerospace? What do you intend to do from here on?
The same, what we did earlier, in a bigger way. We intend to support the government of India in their plans. We intend to support large contractors for their composites requirements, for their aerostructures requirement. My company has a very strong policy of not competing with our customers. So I do not intend to become a UAV manufacturer myself. I intend to support UAV manufacturers while having access to a technology to manufacture UAVs today is not very, very difficult. It's available fairly easily because of India's requirement. There are a lot of people with proven technology willing to partner with me, but I'm not doing it because of my, like I said, my policy of not competing with my customers.
Okay,
I
great.
I became over the past few months, I became a turnkey provider to my customers, wherein I give them a solution where they can directly go and sell to their customers. So in theory, I am already a UAV manufacturer, but I'm not a UAV manufacturer. I'm an aerostructures manufacturer.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way of putting it. Yeah, I had one more question that I wanted to ask you, Mr. Lohia. Could you just spell out what is your plan for the future generation of Lohias in your company, and what would they be doing in the coming days?
Thank you for asking this question, sir. My daughter, Anvi, she graduated from University of Chicago 2 years ago. And instead of pursuing a job in the US, which she had, she came back to help me because at that time the company was in its infancy, and she thought that she would help me. So she came back and then she joined marketing. So today she is heading marketing for me. And I'm very happy to say that she has done an extremely good job. We are quite visible after that. We are now in the crosshairs of all large UAV contractors, defense contractors, like I told you earlier. And I hope that I will continue to interest her to be able to run my company for the future. She is on her way to Stanford for her MBA at the end of this year, in the fall session. But she has promised me that she will take out a couple of hours a day, a few hours a week, to be able to run my marketing for me. She has definitely asked for my help to have a second and third tier marketing setup, but she will continue to help me. And when she comes back after 2 years, she will join me back in full force again. And I look forward to that.
I wish her all the best, Anvi Lohia, all the best in all the endeavors that she's planning to do, be it her next course of academic pursuit or in the industry or with you in the industry at a later stage. all the best to her. In fact, I'm very happy to tell you that when Anvi joined you, I was one of the first people to connect with her on LinkedIn immediately
Okay.
post that. So we have been chatting on LinkedIn for quite a while now since she joined you.
Yeah,
So
she's been
I'm
very active on LinkedIn, yes.
yeah. So in fact, we had planned to catch up sometime soon, maybe before she flies off to pursue her MBA. If we could get an opportunity, I'll be happy to meet her and interact with her.
Or she'll be very happy to interact with you, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let this be my last question. Okay, Mr. Anurag Lohia, apart from enjoying being on the shop floor, what else interests you?
Oh, very important question. Other than being on the shop floor and which I have, and the other thing which I have started enjoying recently is being a part of the defense ecosystem of India. My principal interest is in spirituality and philosophy. I consider myself a Vedantin, and I study the Vedanta philosophy very, very deeply. In fact, I study all the six classic systems of Indian philosophy, but I consider myself an Advaiti, and I spend quite a lot of time researching and learning from that. Of late, I have not been able to spend as much time on it as I want to, but going forward, I intend to spend a lot more time in my research and in my learning.
Absolutely, that is great, and I wish you that all your desires come true, both in the industry side and all your on your spiritual journey side. It's
Thank
a
you so much.
pleasure talking to you, and thank you for your time, Mr. Anurag Lohia.
Thank you for having me here, sir. It was a pleasure interacting with you. Thank you.